Hey, it's Michael Douglas. Welcome back to another edition of Dr. Pundit, where we talk about music, not medicine. And on this edition of the show, I want to kind of deconstruct love songs. Well, how about 80s sappy love songs that are totally memorable, and you wouldn't be chided for listening to them because they've kind of reached that point in music history, the history of recorded music in the late 20th century, to where they're ubiquitous. People know what they are, and it's really not a cardinal sin to listen to them, much less enjoy them. And who are the architects behind these sappy songs that have just become so damn popular over time? Well, how about we focus in on love songs by some of the biggest artists of the 1980s? So Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, Heart, you know, those kinds of artists there. So musical acts like these gifted us with some of the most incredible but sappy songs of the 1980s. But it turns out two men are responsible for constructing these musical presents for all of us to enjoy. You know, the gift that keeps on giving. These musicians were the gift wrapping that brought it all together. And if I'm going to continue this gift analogy on this particular episode, because why not? Everything else quintessentially 1980s about these tracks was the bows and the baubles. Think reverby type snares or soft glow filters or teased out hair with a half a gallon of Aquanet and so on. Heart, I'm talking about you in 1985. Turns out, songwriters are basically the unsung heroes of the musical world. And while plenty of artists and bands write their own material, just as many use songwriters to write or co-write the tracks that would propel them to the top of the charts. These often unseen creative types don't enjoy the same amount of spotlight of the performing artists, of course, but they do get to enjoy the pleasure of reaping the benefits of a hit song, of course, without all those pesky kind of, well, let's get in front of the camera kind of pressures. Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly are certainly no exceptions to this musical industry rule, and the songwriters worked together on countless chart-topping hits, many of which came to define the sound of the 1980s. The songs were dramatic, sentimental, and in some cases, Madonna, shocking within the context of 1980s cultural standards. Now, most everyone can claim to, at the very least, know of Madonna, right? Like Michael Jackson. You can add to that Heart, Cyndi Lauper, even the most passive 80s fan. But far fewer people know that Steinberg and Kelly were the men responsible for crafting some of the decade's most defining hits. And in 2011, the songwriting duo received a joint induction into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, a well-deserved accolade, of course, considering the hit tracks that the songwriters basically had pretty much notched by that time. When one thinks of 1980s power pop, artists like Madonna, Heart, Cyndi Lauper come to mind as musical acts who shared basically a common decade-defining thread in their musical arrangements. Now, as it turns out, that thread was actually Steinberg and Kelly. The songwriting duo basically wrote several 1980s hits, including Madonna's 6-week number one, Like a Virgin, Cyndi Lauper's number one, True Colors, the Bangles' 1988 number one, Eternal Flame, Whitney Houston's 1987 number one, So Emotional, and Heart's 1987 number one, Alone. Sure, musical trends by definition tend to kind of permeate an entire swath of artists at any given time, but the cohesiveness of the 1980s sound, and you know what that is when you hear it, is largely due to songwriting duos like Steinberg and Kelly. And I have to give these guys a lot of credit because they were able to masterfully employ that sound but differentiate them among all these different artists to where they can incorporate them as their own singular fingerprint sonically. This duo basically supplied the lyrics behind the hits for a multitude of artists in a 5-year span in the mid to late 1980s. And at best, the songs were incredibly passionate and emotive. At worst, they are some of the cheesiest songs ever to come out in the 1980s. But in either case, the songs topped the charts, won numerous awards, and invariably led to the Songwriters induction into the Hall of Fame in 2011. So the next time you are bopping to Like a Virgin by Madonna, or ripping your heart out to Hearts Alone, think of those two guys, because they gave you the opportunity to not only like them, but to keep liking them for decades. Kind of the 1980s version of really bad junk food for your ears. I'm Michael Douglas. If you like what you see on this channel, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. And as the late great Barry White always used to say, let the music play. And I'll see you on the next episode.